everybody, and welcome back to the 4-Star Podcast. I know it's been a little while. We had to take last week off. All of us had some individual stuff going on, but we are back. Sans Tig.
Way to be ominous about it. Oh, we all had some stuff going on.
Well, I had a new job and got scheduled to make it impossible to work. Tig's moving.
Yeah.
I forget what you two had going on. But anyway.
No, the aliens took Tig. That's why he's not here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
They weren't happy about his
That's what I meant by moving.
Yeah.
He's moving to another planet.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're back. So we'll jump right into it. We're going to save the Cubs for last for once. And we're going to kick things off with the Blackhawks, do a little bit of a draft recap here. And there have been some pretty major signings that I think Nick, based on how he's been talking about what the Blackhawks should be doing, is going to enjoy. So, Nick, I'll let you kick it off with our beloved Blackhawks.
I am so happy that we can start off the show positive rather than just railing into the Cubs for whatever. But yes, as you all know, the NHL draft was this past week. Connor Bedard is officially a Blackhawk, which is obviously the big story, but we've been talking about that a lot. There were some big moves. Kyle Davidson made some moves before the draft. So before the draft, he acquired Taylor Hall and the unrestricted free agent rights to Nick Foligno, who he signed for 1 year, $4 million from Boston, for RFA rights to Alec Regula and Ian Mitchell, two D prospects who Hawks probably weren't going to bring back anyway. Mitchell in particular has been pretty disappointing, but the headline is Taylor Hall. He's 31 years old. He's a former number 1 overall pick, former Hart Trophy winner. That is Connor Bedard's wing. He's going to slot in right on Bedard's line. That's what I've been talking about, these past few weeks, how the Hawks can weaponize all the cap space that they have to bring in an established veteran, and Taylor Hall is perfect. He's got that experience. He was a former number 1 pick. He knows what that pressure is like. He's someone Bedard can definitely lean on. And he's not what he once was, but he's still a pretty good player. Last year, in 61 games, he had 36 points, 16 goals, 20 assists. So again, he's not what he once was, but he can definitely fit in right on Bedard's line, and that'll be good. Boston, this is a pure salary dump for Boston, and the Hawks, as we've been talking about, have a ton of cap space, so
needed to spend money,
and they needed to spend money. They're actually right with all the transactions and stuff. They're actually right up by the cap floor. So, all in all, great deal. Very happy with the return. Now we get to the draft, and of course, Connor Bedard goes number 1 overall. And we talked about what were they going to do with the 19 pick? Well, Kyle Davidson got on the phone. He said immediately after he drafted Bedard and sat down, he got on the phone, started trying to trade up from 19 to grab a player. Now, unfortunately, you need 2 teams to make a deal. There weren't any takers, so he was not able to trade up. He had to pick at 19. So that's the bad news. The good news is the player he was trying to trade up for fell all the way to 19. So he just got
love it when that happens.
Love it when that happens. That is Oliver Moore. He's a center with the U.S. National Team Development Program. He'll be playing his college hockey at University of Minnesota. He was, like I said, Davidson was aggressively trying to trade up for him. He said they didn't even prepare for a scenario where he was there at 19. They did not think he was going to be there. He is the fastest skater in the draft. So that is definitely the biggest appeal. He was a second line center for the U.S. team. He played on both the power play and the penalty kill. He's much more of a 2-way forward. He comes back aggressively on defense. He's not overly physical, but he's, he gets in there. He battles. So I think I'm very excited about him. I'm not going to go through every draft pick because I think they drafted 8 players, but a couple that I found notable were at 35. They took Adam Gajan. He was the first goaltender taken in the draft at pick 35. He's 6'3". He's Slovakian. He was a late add to the under-18 team that went to the World Juniors, but he caught fire immediately, won the starting job in the game against Canada. I think he made 54 saves. He went undrafted in 2022, but again, he had a breakout year. He's very big and he's very athletic. If RAS was a thing they use at the NFL Combine and for the NFL draft, he'd probably score pretty well. So again, goalie prospects are kind of hit or miss, but there's definitely an athletic frame there that hopefully we can get something out of him. And then the other one, this is sort of kind of fun one. This is a late round pick, a forward name. His name is Marcel. That is actually his name. He's from the Czech Republic, right wing. He's 19 and he's 6'4" and 243 pounds as a winger. So
we just got the next God, what's his name? I can't picture his face. He was on the Bruins forever.
Well, it's not Chara. You're thinking of Chara.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Chara.
Chara was a
I know he's 6'7" and even bigger than that.
And also a defenseman, but
well, but 6'4" for a forward. I mean, that's nuts.
He is a big boy, and he's only 19. He's that big.
He can grow.
he can grow. Exactly. So yeah, overall, I'm very happy with what Kyle Davidson and the Blackhawks front office did with the draft. Obviously, you get Connor Bedard, your draft grade is just going to be an A+ no matter what. But I think, he did what he could with the rest of his draft capital. A couple other additions, and this one I think Blackhawks fans are going to be a little split on. They acquired Corey Perry, old fan favorite Corey Perry from Tampa Bay for a 7th round pick. So Corey Perry is the type of guy that you hate to play against, but you love to have on your team. And we as Hawks fans, the 2015 Western Conference Finals comes to mind where we played the Ducks. Hated Corey Perry. I remember. I got to go back and delete some tweets because, my gosh. But I think he adds, a veteran presence to the locker room, a locker room that definitely needs it, especially with all these young guys coming up. And they also acquired a 2nd rounder in 2026 for Josh Bailey's contract, who they immediately bought out. So, hey, that helps get him to the cap floor. So that I know I kind of went super fast there. So if there's anything you guys want to dive into on that, that's basically what the Hawks have done the past 2 weeks. And again, they're going to be bad next year, but it's going to be fun bad. Connor Bedard and Taylor Hall are going to be putting up points. We're going to get to see this young team develop, and hey, maybe we end up winning the lottery again next year. That's the beauty of it. So,
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that we talked over the last few weeks about, Kyle Davidson needing to use the cap space they had wisely and use these resources that they had wisely. And he's definitely done that with the moves that they made. I mean, you bring in some of the veterans that they have, taking advantage of other teams that needed to get rid of some salary. And that's the thing with the NHL is that it's a much stricter salary cap compared to, let's say, much stricter compared to the NBA, for instance. So teams they had to make moves to cut some salary, whereas NBA teams basically, it basically comes down to how much money the owner's willing to spend when it comes down to it. But the NHL, it really is a salary cap league.
Yep.
And there's no ways to get around it like the NFL either. The NFL, you can just, do signing bonuses and whatever to stretch
the
things
cap
out.
Isn't real.
Yeah,
cap isn't real.
Cap is fake in the NFL for a variety of ways. So very smart, I think, to get to the cap floor through these means. And like you mentioned, Nick, they got some extra draft picks from it as well. So they're still building up resources for the future. So I think the most exciting thing for me is that this is just the beginning of it. So you get the player that you're going to build around for the future here in Bedard, who could be an instant star player right away. Or at least that's the expectation is
can I just say a note about Bedard? I know I'm not going to get into, because we all know how great Bedard is, but in his post-draft interviews, they were asking him about, hey, ESPN's asking him hey, your NHL debut is going to be in Pittsburgh against Sidney Crosby, and then the whole time he's just like, yeah, well, I'm just focused on making the team. I just want to make sure that I'm making the team. It's dude, the Hawks are already selling jerseys. They're already selling your jerseys. You're on the team. I appreciate it, and I get that you don't want to get overconfident and be like that. And I know what the culture of hockey is, but man, they had jerseys ready at the post-draft party. They're just selling your jerseys. People were walking out with your jerseys. All right. You're on the team.
They had the jerseys ready when they won the lottery. They've just really been waiting because they've had to wait for it.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
make the right draft pick. But
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess you'd rather be too humble than I guess too cocky. I don't know. I like to have a little bit of an edge there. You never.
Yeah.
It'll come.
I'll never complain.
It's a hockey player thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Nick said, that is the culture of hockey. You
Yeah.
fall on the sword if you messed up, even if it really wasn't your fault, and you never take credit. That is just literally, if you watch a hockey post-game interview, every single one of them sounds the same. They all have the same tone.
You'll never hear the word "I." Like,
no,
you
never.
never will.
Never. I respect the hell out of hockey
Unless
players,
it's
honestly.
I messed up.
Yep. Exactly. The one thing I wanted to add, I know a lot of players, or not a lot of players, excuse me. A lot of people were kind of coming after Kyle Davidson, like, okay, if you're signing Taylor Hall and Corey Perry, why aren't you re-signing Kane and Taves? And I think he had a rather brilliant answer to that question, and it had to do with locker room culture. You bring back guys like Kane and Taves, everybody's like, oh my God, it's Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane. And you automatically have them leading the locker room. You automatically have everybody looking to them for everything because they've been here forever and won 3 Stanley Cups and lots of other individual accolades. You bring in a guy like Corey Perry and a guy like Taylor Hall, and yes, they are veterans. They do have a leadership presence, but they're not the face of this franchise. You still have room for younger guys like Bedard to make a name for themselves, be coached on how to properly take over the locker room. Because Corey Perry knows he's not going to be here very long. He's going to be that veteran presence when you need it. Like, hey guys, come on, let's rally. Let's, it's not the end of the world, that kind of stuff. But he's still going to let the younger guys try and take charge and just help them and guide them to take charge. So I thought that was a really, really smart and poignant answer from Kyle Davidson on why he didn't bring those guys back. And I agree with it. I'm with him 100%.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer. I think that's a good public answer. I think privately, it's just everything Kyle Davidson does has been trying to distance the team from the Stan Bowman era and all of the baggage that comes along with that. So I think that's the other angle to it. The part that he probably won't say out loud, as much as he might respect Kane and Taves as players, whether or not Taves even plays again. If I had to guess, I don't think he's playing again.
I don't either.
Yeah, because I think there was a report came out that he wasn't going to sign initially in free agency, and he was just going to wait it out and see what opportunities arise. But I feel like if he was going to play, he would have. If he wanted, if his heart was in it, he would have played. But yeah, no, that is a good point. It's just like Connor Bedard has an opportunity to step into a leadership role, which I don't think he would have had a problem trying to step into a leadership role if Kane and Taves were there. And those guys would, probably Taves especially would definitely probably try to push him along. It's not like he would have, it's not like he would have been get out of here, kid. This is my team. Taves knows,
right?
He's a good leader. He knows, but it is a bit easier when you don't have the shadow of 3 Stanley Cups rather than you just, hey, I've just been in this league for however long Corey Perry's been in the league, 15 years, something ridiculous, a long time, really long time. So yeah.
At some point you got to rip the Band-Aid off and just move on to the next iteration of the franchise. And I mean, the longer you keep around some of the old Blackhawk players, and the longer.
Well, there's no one left.
There's no one left now. Yeah, right. So when you bring, if you brought back guys like Kane or Taves or whatever, you're just, the message that you're sending is that you're still trying to cling on to the last generation of Blackhawks teams. And at this point, it's just look, you got to start fresh and start new. And I think that's what they're doing right here, as opposed to the next team that we're going to be talking about. So is that a good way to transition, Jordan?
I think that's a good segue.
That's a good transition. The only thing else I'm going to add, Corey Perry made his debut with the Ducks in 2005.
Oh my God. So 18
years.
Oh my gosh.
Still chugging along.
18 years. But we can move on to the Bulls.
That's
now.
The year Connor Bedard was. Oh no. That is 2005. You said,
yeah.
That's the year Connor Bedard was born.
Shoot.
I feel old. That makes me feel old.
Yeah. When I was watching the draft and they said he was born in 2005, and that just he was born the year like Revenge of the Sith came out. Like, my
Okay,
God.
quick sidebar. So, for if I haven't mentioned it on the show yet, I recently switched from being a salesman to a restaurant server, and I just had somebody come in last night that I had to check their ID because they looked rather young. Their birthday was the beginning of June 2002, and I wanted to crawl into a hole. I'm like, oh, happy belated birthday. You just turned 21.
Yeah.
Good
rough.
times.
It's rough. Anyway, moving on to the Bulls. Andrew, I will definitely let you take this one.
Yeah, so it's been a busy couple of weeks for the Bulls. Obviously, they had the draft and free agency. It's still going on right now, but let's start with, I guess, the draft. So the Bulls didn't start the NBA draft with any draft picks, and there's a lot of talk, like, would the Bulls try to mortgage future draft picks to get a first-round pick or a second-round pick? Would they maybe trade one of their players, like a DeMar DeRozan, for a first-round pick and try to draft a player this year's draft? Well, they didn't do anything in the first round to kind of make a move. But in the second round, they did make a trade. They traded away 2 future second-round picks for Julian Phillips. He's a freshman forward out of Tennessee. And he kind of fits the mold of the last few guys that we've seen this front office drafts over the past few years. Yeah. Big, long, athletic wings who can't shoot. Although Patrick Williams can shoot. He's a pretty good shooter. But you look at Terry, who they drafted in last year's draft in the first round. And then you look at Julian Phillips, not a very good shooter. Although it sounds like there was something that went on in Tennessee where the coaching staff may have messed up his shot a little bit. So maybe that's something that they're kind of banking on, that with better coaching in the NBA, he can kind of fix his shot.
Yeah, because that's what the Bulls are known for, shooting, right. Coaching shooting.
Well, just developing young players in general. This organization does not do that. So I'm kind of curious what the mindset was, what that was. But so AK, he spoke with the media after the draft, and a couple things here. He talked about extending the qualifying offers to Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu. Well, Kobe White, he did end up working on an extension for him. It's 3 years, $43 million, I think. So I think that was pretty fair value for Kobe White. He's improved every single year. He had something that the team doesn't really have, which is shooting. He can actually shoot the ball and make plays on offense besides Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. So he kind of brings something off the bench that they don't have. So I'm fine with that extension. It's a fine move. He got asked, AK did, about going into the luxury tax. And his answer was that if they believe that they have a team that's going to be good enough, the ownership will let them do it, which tells me that they're not going to be doing that. There's no way. There's no way that the Lions stores are going to let them go into the luxury tax. Yeah. I think the Bulls are the only team, I think, in the NBA that hasn't gone into the luxury tax since that's been a thing. Or they're one of the few teams that haven't been in the luxury tax since that's been a thing. Just a notoriously cheap organization. So I believe it when I see it. And then a couple of other moves that they made for free agency. Derek Jones declined his player option. Despite some early reporting that he'd be back, he decided to opt out. And then Andre Drummond, who it was reported or rumored that he would opt out of his deal, he opts in, and he's back for the next upcoming season. So that's interesting right there. And then one other thing to note in terms of the press conference, it sounds like Lonzo Ball, unfortunately, is not expected to play this year, which sucks for him personally. It looks like his career's over, which is really sad because he's a fun player to watch. And it sucks when he's still like in the prime of his career, or should be in the prime of his career. And it sounds like it's done before he's ever begun. So, at least he got the bag before he ended up
100%.
having to, before his body broke down. So happy for him there. It's just unfortunate that the Bulls are the team that is kind of dealing with the ramifications of that. It sounds like the Bulls are trying to appeal to the NBA to have part of Lonzo's salary be voided for the upcoming season. It's a weird function the NBA allows for players that it sounds like they're having a career-ending injury, which it sounds like Lonzo might. So the Bulls actually might see some cap relief from Lonzo Ball with that, but it'll be around $10 million, I think. So it's not a ton to keep them from making any drastic moves. But Yeah. Anything you guys want to add for that before we get to some of the free agency moves?
Yeah, real quick, I saw a tweet the other day that was extraordinarily depressing. I think it was the Bulls were like 26-12 or something like that. Third place we're in the West, right?
East.
We are in the East for basketball.
In the East in basketball. It's the,
Okay.
Yeah, they were 27-13 in first place to the East.
That's what it was. Yeah, before Lonzo Ball went down with injury. So it just goes to show how crucial he is to this roster construction.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little sad.
Well, he adds everything that they don't have. Like, he's a great defender, one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball when he's healthy, and he's a great shooter who takes a lot of threes. And they don't have anybody else on the roster besides Zach LaVine, who's a really good shooter who's going to take a lot of threes. So it's just, yeah, he's like, as much as I hate to say it, because you don't want to build your roster around having, if one role player goes down, your team's screwed. But Lonzo, because of his importance on the roster and what he brings, like, he's so important to this team that him not being there, it kind of screws over the rest of the roster, which sucks for both him and the Bulls.
Yeah.
I may have missed this, but did you mention the Vucevic extension that we've been complaining about for the past 3 weeks?
Yeah,
okay.
Not yet, because I didn't want to mention that. But yeah, the Bulls they
made that official.
Themselves over. Yeah, they made that official. So we've been talking about that, where the Bulls been rumored for extending Vucevic. Well, they end up doing that. 3 years, $60 million, all of it guaranteed. So there's no team option. There is no partial guarantee in the final year that the Bulls can get out of here. They are locked in the Vucevic, which on the surface, like, it's not like a terrible contract in terms of, like, I am afraid he's not going to live up to the contract. Like, I think Vucevic will probably individually live up to getting paid $20 million a year. It's more so like what it represents. And it represents that this team is like, they're not ripping off the Band-Aid and just blowing things up here. They are sticking to this core, and they are going to basically just let it all ride out here instead of trying to make, any types of moves to improve this team long-term. Like, they are just, it's a move that you make when you're settling for mediocrity, which I've discussed about that. I don't know how many times on this podcast I've talked about that. Like, every single time we talk with the Bulls,
drink.
Yeah. We should make that a drinking game, probably. It's not. And here's the other thing to mention for the Bulls and their moves. They do not make team-friendly deals in terms of on the margins here. Like, you look at all their 2-year deals, all the deals are basically 1-year deals with player options for the next year. And why that sucks for the Bulls is that if a guy doesn't perform for you, he still has the option to stay with your team the next year. And he's probably going to take that deal, because if he's not playing well, he's probably not going to get a ton of money in the next free agency. So it's just, the Bulls are just not winning on the margins here when it comes to these types of contracts. And that's the other frustrating things with this is, like, Vucevic, like, yeah, if you want to bring him back, fine, but you're locking him into 2 to 3 years here with this deal. And the full 3 years with this deal. And Vucevic, I think he's 33 years old. He's going to be 33 years old going into this next year. So he's not a young player. He's an older player. So I just wonder, like, how long is he going to be able to keep up the level of play he does have? Because he had a good year last year, but he's also just, I've talked about it before, but just not a really good fit with this team right now for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on all of that.
Yeah.
Couple other things the Bulls did. They did make a couple of signings in free agency. Javon Carter, he's a point guard from the Milwaukee Bucks the past year. Really good defensive player, really good three-point shooter. They got him on a 3-year deal, I think about 18 to 21 million, somewhere in that range. So I thought that was a nice deal for the Bulls. Again, like I said, he kind of fills that defensive point guard that they really like to have in the lineup. Add shooting, add some tenacity on defense. He is on the shorter side. He's like 6'1". So he doesn't fix their problem of not having very good size on the wing and athleticism on the wing, but he's a good player. I thought that was fine given where they're at. And then they signed Torrey Craig to a 2-year deal. It's one of those deals where I think it's a 1 year and then he gets a player option the next year. So it's one of those deals I'm talking about where the player has all the leverage in those sorts of things. But Craig's a fine player. He's a good defensive player. AK actually knows him because I think he drafted him when he was working with the Denver front office. So there's some familiarity there. He's fine. 3-and-D guy. He's going to be solid off the bench. I just, none of these moves really get me excited because they don't move the needle. Like the Bulls are what now is 8th seed in the Eastern Conference now. Like
41-41. Here we come.
Yep. That's basically it. Like in a vacuum, I don't think anything the Bulls did was incredibly awful from a move standpoint, but all of it, when you put it all together, the big picture is that this team is just going to be the same as they were last year, right? A play-in team, they're going to be around 500 the entire year, and they're going to make me like not want to watch them for this upcoming season. I can't wait to get League Pass and just watch the Denver Nuggets every single game next year. That's going to be my plan probably with the way it's shaking out.
Yeah, I've been spending too much time on Twitter lately, but I've been seeing a lot of people say like,
Elon's trying to fix that for you, Jordan.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't spend enough time on Twitter to where I'm looking at 600 tweets a day, but I've been seeing a lot of Bulls.
600 tweets. Sidebar. I feel like 600 tweets a day. I don't know. It might just be me. I haven't hit the limit, but I feel like 600 is not that much, especially if you're just like scrolling and it counts everyone that you pass through.
Especially if you click on a tweet and then you go into the comment section, you're scrolling through there. I feel like you can get the 600.
Oh, well, that's the bad place.
Just through theirs.
That's the bad place, Andrew. You don't go into the replies.
Oh, I always love going through the replies. That's the best part.
Anyway, I've been seeing a lot of people on Bulls Twitter like, okay, they just had this big press conference saying they were going to make a bunch of moves and nothing's happened yet. So I definitely agree. The Bulls free agency so far has been extraordinarily underwhelming. And if they don't wind up doing anything, you're just going to further piss off an already infuriated fan base. So we shall see what happens. You guys have anything else to add, or should we move on to
sell the team, Reinsdorf?
Yeah, that's all I'll add. I'm with you, Nick. Let's get some.
I know you're with me. You know how many times you've gone down that rabbit hole on this podcast?
Wait.
I try not to.
This is episode 11, and I feel like in 8 of them you've complained about Reinsdorf.
So a quick sidebar. Quick sidebar. So Jerry Reinsdorf's what, 87, I think.
Do you think? Probably. He's
too old. He just
he's super old. I was very surprised when I looked it up a while ago. All right, pulling it up right now. Yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf is 87 years old. Do you think when he moves into the great beyond, the team sells, or I mean, are we patient enough for that?
Well, unfortunately, Bulls fans are too stupid not to go to all the games, so they're probably going to try to keep it to get that cash cow. So I hate to be nihilistic here, but yeah, that's
okay.
And I hate to say it, but we're probably stuck with them for a while because I don't think Michael's going to be any better. So I guess we'll see.
All right. Well, it's time to move on to the Cubs. They're making me wish we did an episode last week because we would have been so happy to do an episode last week. They swept the Pirates. They split the series in London, and they should have won. They should have swept the Cardinals in
From
London
the moment Mancini dropped that ball. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but it's literally from that moment. It's just gone to shit.
Yeah, we haven't won. No, did we win? No, we got swept by Cleveland, right?
We got swept by Philly and we lost the Cleveland series.
Okay. So we've won one game since returning from London.
Yep.
And while we were waiting on Andrew to join the chat room here, I watched Dansby Swanson take strike 3. Admittedly, rough call. Ball was a little bit outside. But you're in a 2-strike count in the top of the 9th in Milwaukee with runners on first and second. Got to get the bat off your shoulder. So they lost the first game against Milwaukee.
Yep.
It's been rough. There are some bright spots. Shout out to Marcus Stroman, Justin Steele, and Dansby Swanson for making the All-Star team. Yay. But bottom line is you have two of the best pitchers in baseball. You have arguably the best middle infield in baseball. You have a Gold Glover in left, a Gold Glover in center, a huge international signing in right. I understand third base and first base are a little rough. Yan Gomes, I think, is arguably one of the best best catchers in baseball right now. Just the most versatile. He's good he's solid on defense, and he actually has a solid bat. Most catchers don't have both. We should not be 7 games below 500. We should not. It's infuriating. You have all the building blocks theoretically on paper, but I was watching Mark Sherlith, I believe is how you say his last name, was on the whose show was he on? I can't remember. I think it might have been Rich Eisen. It was either Rich Eisen or Pat McAfee, but he had a nice quote. If games were played on paper, I would not have spent nearly as much time on an operating table, because he was a offensive lineman of football. So I don't know what we need to do here. I don't even necessarily want to dig into the games. Jamison Tyone is 2-12 this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, unfortunately, Tyke's not on because he's the Tyone hater / defender / I don't know exactly what his relationship is with
It's a
Tyone.
love-hate relationship.
I feel like at this point it's more of a hate relationship. If the Cubs he was your big money signing in the offseason, and like he's been getting he's been that unholy combination of bad and unlucky. Like you can be good and then just run into bad luck. You can be bad and have it not affect you at all. We've seen that. This is baseball, but he's been bad and unlucky. So this has just been like absolutely dreadful. Again, 2-12 in games that he starts. Like yesterday, it was yesterday. He was starting yesterday, and the Cubs were also like 2-11 on Sundays going into yesterday. So yesterday you're just like, yeah, they're definitely losing this game. If they were, if that record was like 500, then the record doesn't look as bad. But like that's the thing. It's just like Ricketts said before the London series that he saw the team as buyers and that things would have to really go off the rails for them to sell again. And like clockwork, you split the London series. Okay, fine. You get swept by Philly. You lose another series. And basically this series against Milwaukee and what's the series after that? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
No, but you keep talking. I'll look it up.
So you have the series against Milwaukee, one of the division leaders. It's essentially a must-win series because if you lose this series in Milwaukee right now, Cubs are I had it in front of me. They're 7 games back right now of the first place Brewers. You lose the series 8 or 9 games back, you're going to start to look a lot more like a team that should sell.
Our next series is against the Yankees. We're so screwed.
Well, here's the thing, though.
We're so screwed.
Well, here's the thing. Like we said that going into the Rays series, and we won the Rays series. So this team is just this.
You don't know.
I don't know.
They're frustrating, man.
Well, look, the series against Milwaukee is a 4-game series.
Okay, so
we're screwed because I'm sorry. I am not very optimistic right now. I don't see us winning this series against the Brewers the way things have been going. And if we're going into a series against the Yankees in the most competitive division in baseball right now, it's not going to go well. I don't see it going well.
Yeah,
Volpe's been hitting well after he made some adjustments. I think Aaron Judge still injured, so we might not have to worry about.
He's still injured. I don't think he's
so we won't have to worry about Aaron Judge. But I mean, I don't know. It's very frustrating.
Weekly update on our Cubs run differential. They're still the only team in the NL Central with a positive run differential, plus 22.
What are we supposed to do with this information? What are we supposed to do? Like,
It's just to show how bonkers this team has been this
This
season.
This team defies all logic.
It speaks
no
to
sense.
all of
poor.
it.
It just speaks to poor roster construction, lineup construction, some really underwhelming pitching performances. When you have your top 2 pitchers leading, I think at least the National League, or if not all of baseball in ERA. I haven't looked at the leaders in a while, but when you're
they were first and third before Stroman gave up 6 runs.
Okay, well, up there for the league lead in ERA, you have your big money signing Dansby Swanson like playing out of his mind, and most of the rest of the roster playing pretty well. Like I don't know how the results on in the win-loss column are not matching what we are seeing, performance wise, which is, I think that speaks to roster construction, front office, lineup construction. Yeah.
Bad luck.
Bad luck.
At the wrong times. Not putting the other hits at the right times too. I think that's probably been the biggest bugaboo for this team.
Yeah.
We talk about their inability to, get hits and get guys in with runners on base and scoring position. And it comes down to that. Like, you got to get timely hits to put together wins, and they're not getting that. They haven't been getting that all this season.
So guess who the pitchers were that gave up the 8 runs today after we had a 6-0 lead?
Tyone.
No. Smiley started.
Oh, Smiley started today. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Smiley gave up 3 in 3 2/3. Merriweather gave up 3 in 2/3. And Leiter Jr. gave up 2 in 1 1/3. So we had a bullpen implosion of the guys who have actually been doing well. It's just, I swear to God, we can't catch a break this year.
I just opened Twitter to pull something up, and the first thing I see is this tweet from Michael Cerami. Win 11-13, blow a 4-0 lead to the Cardinals, get swept by the Phillies, come back in the 9th inning against the Guardians before losing in extras and losing the series, and then blow a 6-0 lead in a must-win game to your rivals. What the fuck?
It's here, then it's here, then it's back here, and I don't get this team. Like, I don't know what else to say. It literally does not make sense. How we can just go on these huge streaks of just, you know what, we're going to come back. We got within, what was it, 2 or 3 games of 500.
It was like
before we've lost not, or what
it was like
7
a
of
game
our
or
last
2,
8 or something now.
I don't know.
It's just mind-boggling. I don't understand.
At this rate, do we think they're buyers or sellers at the trade deadline?
I think okay. So if they're gonna sell, they're not gonna like sell. It's not like they have to blow the team up or anything like that. But like, will they try to trade Bellinger? Yeah. Will they try to trade Smiley? Yeah. Will they try to trade anyone in the bullpen for whoever they get? No one's taking Mancini, and Mancini signed a 2-year deal anyway. Same with Barnard. You'd have to buy him out.
I'd take peanuts. Give us like a.
He's not worth it to have on your roster. Like, you could offer him up for free. Like, it's
just take him, please.
I don't know.
And I hate saying that because like Trey Mancini is such a good dude, but
of course everyone loves Trey Mancini,
and he's not been performing.
Yeah, it like credit to him for like owning the horrible misplay at first base in the London game against the Cardinals that pretty much cost them the game. Credit to him for owning it. He's a veteran. He knows that like he really wore that loss like on his shoulders. So I mean, credit to him for that. It's hard to stay mad at him, but I just don't want him on my baseball team.
No, he is unfortunately a far cry from what he was with the Orioles. I mean, I knew that this wasn't going to be like a World Series competitive year, but I mean, seriously, we had the division set up so well for us to just be a mediocre baseball team and win the division, at least have some fun, and we've gone on these streaks of where it's like, we're awesome. We can definitely do this. We can come back. And then the second we start believing in the team, they just completely crap all over themselves. I mean, Anyway, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse right now.
Yeah, I think we can move on.
Anybody have anything else to add with the Cubs, or should we just move on?
Let's move
I think
on.
we're good on that.
All right. Like I said, we got a 4-game series against Milwaukee that I'm not feeling super optimistic for. Then we have the Yankees. Nico Horner would be the one snub I'd say from this team for the All-Star game. Home run derby lineup has not been completely set yet, correct?
I don't think that's been released. Or has it? Has there been news on that? I haven't followed.
I saw somebody when I was half asleep announce that they were going to be participating. No, it is up.
Oh.
Okay, so home run derby. J-Rod from the Mariners, Vladdy from the Blue Jays, Mookie from the Dodgers, Randy Arozarena, Pete Alonso and Adley Rutschman. No Christopher Morel, which kind of pisses me off. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a snub as well. But yeah, we got that coming up in a couple of weeks here. I know the Red Sox series that we're trying to go to is the first series after the All-Star break. So we'll see. Tons of fun stuff. Now I guess we can move on to our 4 stars of the week. I guess I'll do 1 and 4.
Yeah, that works.
So number 1 star of the week is Kyle Davidson because, like we were saying, great draft, great free agency moves. But the main reason he's the star of the week is because while he was in Nashville, and I have the video pulled up, so I'm definitely going to include the link in the description to our video and our description on podcasting platforms. But there were some people walking around doing street interviews in Nashville for the draft, and Kyle Davidson was just walking around in a backwards baseball hat and a T-shirt, and some of the highlights were like, "Oh, hey, introduce yourself." And he's like, "Hi, I'm Kyle from Chicago."
They did not know who he was.
They had no idea who he was. How much do you know about hockey? I'd say about a 4. And it goes from there. He just totally plays it off.
My favorite part was that he played it off as he was a Blackhawks fan, right? They asked him to name as many hockey players as he could within 30 seconds or something like that.
Yep.
And he named Sidney Crosby, Mario Lemieux, and then he named all Blackhawks from the Cup team. So he was Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, Michael Roosevelt, Brian Bickle. Yeah. He named guys that is okay, so you were a fan from the Hawks team. He completely played into it. He didn't name a single player that's on the Blackhawks currently.
Yep.
It was really impressive.
He did a great job with it. So we're definitely throwing that link in the description. But yeah, first star goes to Kyle Davidson.
Second star of the week goes to somebody who's been the target of a lot of my, let's call it, criticism on this podcast in the past, and that is Nick Madrigal. He's very quietly, since he got demoted and was called back up, he's been hitting the ball really well. 321 average since getting called up on June 9th, I believe it was. 321 average. He's slugging 446, which is better than I'd expect from him. He hit his first home run the other day. He hit a home run, first home run. He homered before Tim Anderson did this season. Who saw that coming?
We won the trade.
WRC plus of 139, and he's been playing really good defense at third base. So you know what? I will gladly eat crow on it. Nick Madrigal, you've given Knicks a good name, and I'm very proud of you.
Sidebar, guess you got injured in the Brewers game today, Nick.
Yeah,
Madrigal.
let's not talk about that.
We're praising it. We're not.
Yeah, so hopefully the start of the week makes you feel a little better during your recovery if you need one.
Gosh, I hope this thing doesn't come a thing where our stars of the week get injured the very next week. That would be.
We are the new Madden curse.
Yeah, I
Chicago sports.
We better not have the 4-star curse on here. That would be awful. Yep. Speaking of stars, our next star of the week is actually going to be 3 stars here. And that's our 3 Cubs All-Stars: Justin Steele, Marcus Stroman, Dansby Swanson. We talked. It seems like every week we talk about how frustrating this team is, but I think these 3 and a lot of the other players in this Cubs team kind of show that there is a lot of positives to talk about when it comes to this Cubs team. There are good things about what's going on with them this season. It's just that it doesn't always shine through. But these 3 have definitely been the mainstays for this Cubs team this season. They've been pretty consistent players all year long, and it's really good that they're getting their just due here, going to be representing the Cubs in the All-Star game. So definitely a cool moment to have those guys representing the team, and definitely going to be cheering them on when the All-Star game comes up. I think, when's the All-Star game coming up? It's this weekend, right?
No,
Next weekend?
middle of next week.
Middle next week. Okay.
Middle next week, yeah.
All right, so it's coming up soon. So can't wait.
All right, our last star of the week. This one might catch me a little bit of grief because I know there are a few mixed reactions, but the last star of the week is going to go actually to the city of Chicago and NASCAR. For those of you that aren't aware, NASCAR held its first ever street race, which is, it's different than a road course. Road course is a closed course with just lots of left and right turns, longer circuit. Most of the time, NASCAR races on oval tracks, which are no more than 1.5 miles to 2 miles. They actually went to Chicago, shut down a bunch of streets, and including there was a section of the track. Locals were not happy about it. They actually shut down a portion of Michigan Avenue, and there were race cars driving on Michigan Avenue. And I understand, again, I'm in Arizona, so it's been nothing but sunny, but I did see there was a very, very good amount of severe weather in Chicago over the weekend. So unfortunately, some events, part of the event was supposed to be almost like a festival atmosphere. There was a Chainsmokers concert that was supposed to happen.
That's ironic.
I want to say Miranda Lambert. I could be wrong. I know they had 4 musical acts. Unfortunately, all 4 of those got canceled due to the severe weather and flooding in the parks. However, the response from the NASCAR community, and I'm going to stereotype a little bit here.
Yeehaw.
NASCAR fans were not very thrilled about being in Chicago. Obviously, odds are if you're watching the show, you know the city, from the city. We've all been to the city plenty of times. Chicago gets a worse rap nationally than it deserves. I think we can all agree on that. I personally have never felt unsafe walking around. That's just me.
That's because you're all the safe areas.
Well, yeah, if you do that, you're fine. But anyway, so a lot of people in the NASCAR community were not excited about going to Chicago and didn't think that it was going to be a good race. And the overwhelming response I have seen from NASCAR Twitter is, oh my God, I have never been more excited to eat crow in my life. It was an exciting race. The rain added a factor to it, obviously, but everybody's actually excited to have this happen again. And NASCAR and the city signed a 3-year contract for this race to come back on 4th of July weekend. They can the city can terminate the agreement within 180 days, but they have a 3-year deal. So I'm sorry, that was a lot of backstory. I just know NASCAR is not the most popular sport. So I wanted to give a little bit of context to it. But overall, city of Chicago, NASCAR, you guys did great. 4-star goes to you. And now, for everyone's favorite segment, which I guess we didn't even put notes in for, the complete 180. Andrew, would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, no, I'll go first. Why not?
All right.
So for those who are not living under a rock, the latest Indiana Jones movie has officially hit theaters, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And I wanted to touch some light on my thoughts. I haven't seen the movie yet, and I don't plan on seeing the movie because I am boycotting this thing. It is a travesty against the human race, against anything good in this world when it comes to watching moving pictures, because the Indiana Jones franchise is one of my favorite movie trilogies, franchises, whatever you want to call it. Out of anything, I honestly might even like it more than Star Wars. I don't know. It's up there. Those 2 franchises were like the building blocks for me growing up. I just love those movies so much. And Kingdom of Crystal came out in, 2008? When the movie came out.
Was it that long ago?
That sounds, yeah.
It sounds about
right.
right.
Oh my God.
And yeah, let's just say it was a step down from the first 3 in the franchise. That immediately turned me off from wanting to see any of the sequels. And what makes me angry
You
About
didn't like Indy surviving a nuke by sitting inside a refrigerator?
Yeah, super realistic, right?
just slightly more ridiculous than him jumping out of a plane and surviving a fall on the mountainside with a what do you call it?
I don't know.
Whatever it was, whatever it is. Anyway, I'm blanking on this one. Temple Dooney definitely survived some pretty crazy stuff in that movie, but I still love that movie for what it is. But yeah, Dial of Destiny. For those who don't know, the reason why I have no reason to really see this movie. So first of all, it's not even directed by Steven Spielberg, who has directed. Nope, not directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh
and
yeah,
George Lucas. George Lucas is not even involved with this either as an executive producer. So the two most important people, the two creators of the Indiana Jones franchise, aren't even involved with this. It's just a cash grab by Disney to try to capitalize on the Indiana Jones name. And guess what? Harrison Ford, I love the guy, but he's 80 years old at this point. He cannot be doing I know it's his last one, it's his send off, and he wanted to have one more movie. He obviously loves the character much more than he loves Han Solo, that's for sure. But and I get he wants to have a good send off because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was just not good at all. But say what you want about Spielberg and Lucas, but this was their creation, this is their franchise, and I feel like to do this as the final Indiana Jones movie is kind of disrespectful to what those two kind of built with this thing. And in my view, the Indiana Jones film franchise ended with Indiana Jones, his universe father, Marcus Brody, and Sala all riding off to the sunset at the end of The Last Crusade. And I'm sticking to that story. I watched that movie last night. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's one of the best action movies ever made. So I'm going to continue to have the good memories of those films, and we're just going to forget about these last two. I think we're going to all benefit from that as a human species.
Fair point. I did not realize. Okay, so first of all, I did not realize that Crystal Skull came out in 2008. That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching it as like a family movie night with my parents and my brother, and did not realize that was that long ago. Second, travesty that Spielberg and Lucas aren't involved. I'm not going to watch this movie now. Thank you for saving me 2 to 3 hours of my life.
I'm helping you out here.
You are definitely helping me out here. Well, my 180, I'm going to kind of actually use yours as a segue because you mentioned Star Wars. And I'm going to talk about how much of an absolute nerd I am for 3 minutes. So this year for Star Wars Day, I actually going to back up a little bit. At my previous job, I had another coworker that really liked Star Wars, really liked Legos. And I didn't realize that Lego does a promotion where you get little extras if you spend, $150 on Star Wars Day, which if you know anything about Legos, it is very easy to spend $150. So for Star Wars Day, I got, I didn't have anywhere to put it, so it's sitting across from me on my dining room table. I have to call it's Boba Fett's Starship because Disney changed the name of it.
Oh, it's not the slave one anymore?
No, it's Boba Fett's Starship. So
Are we
I got
canceling Boba Fett?
No, we're not canceling Boba Fett. We're just canceling the Starship.
Same thing.
But it is really cool because it opens up and then there's a little, you can't even see it. Okay, there we go. So this part opens up and you can actually it's got a dude in carbonite in it, one of the like pig guys. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, I also got a Dark Trooper helmet. But for those of you that don't know me that well, I was obsessed with Legos as a kid, especially all I get are Star Wars Legos, and they're awesome. They're constantly coming out with new sets. Again, if you don't know much about Legos, you can get $800 Legos. The ones they have are Millennium Falcon, which is huge. I think it's even bigger than that. Giant AT-AT. So if you're ever bored and have money burning a hole in your pocket, great suggestion. They also, because of course, I have some that I haven't built yet. You heard the bag fall over. Captain Rex helmet. It's going to be sick. I have a Dark Trooper helmet too, so I'm starting my helmet collection. But yeah, I love Star Wars Legos. If you have any suggestions on ones that I should look into, feel free, comment, let me know.
I gotta circle back to the Boba Fett spaceship thing. So it's actually just called Boba Fett's spaceship?
You want me to go grab the box? I'll show you.
It's actually just called, you don't have to grab the box. I'll take your word for it, but it's actually just called Boba Fett's spaceship.
Starship.
Yeah. So you got Disney execs in the room. It's like, hey, we called Boba Fett. He's a super iconic character. He's got this spaceship. It's called the Slave One. We kind of want to change the name. It's not exactly PC. It's like, okay, what should we change it to? How about Boba Fett's starship? That's easy enough. Like,
they couldn't come up with
anything more creative than that.
Nope.
Disney.
No, because
Disney,
you have the original Mando ship was the Razor Crest, and that sounds awesome. That's like a punch in the face every time you hear it. It's great. And then Boba Fett starship.
Interesting.
It looks cool. Like, they did a really good job with it, and this really was not that expensive of a set. I mean, and if you can see it, please don't judge my stickering abilities because I don't have steady hands and I'm very impatient. But overall, it's pretty good. You got a little Boba Fett in there. And then I have Mando over here also.
Oh man.
Little Mando right there. And it's really funny. If you take the helmet off, he doesn't have a face. It's literally just a black head.
Yeah. Oh God.
So there's my 180. Just talking about Star Wars Legos because.
All right. Well,
right in front of me.
All right. Well, keeping on theme, Jordan. Andrew talked Indiana Jones. Jordan talked Star Wars. I'm going to talk Stephen F. Austin State University's Women's Bowl. Now, you might ask why I'm talking about this women's bowling program. Well, honestly, there's a lot to talk about. Head coach Amber Lemke has done a really good job with that program. 2 national titles, 2 second-place finishes. That's not the reason I'm talking about it today. Reason I'm talking about them today is because this happened a couple months ago, but it came on my radar somewhat recently. An assistant bowling coach on this team, Steve Lemke, has resigned after it came out that he was having an affair with one of the student athletes that he was coaching. Now, if you're listening really closely just now, you may have noticed that Amber Lemke, the head coach, and Steve Lemke, the assistant coach who's resigning in disgrace, share a last name. And that's because they were married. Or at least they were married. Obviously, she filed for divorce very, very shortly after this came out. So what you have is you have an assistant coach on this women's bowling team at this college have an affair with one of the student athletes that he and his wife both coach. That is insane. I just had to mention it because it just blew my mind. Now, this paper that reported on it, the Lufkin Daily News. I
was really hoping you had the quotes.
They reached out to Steve and Amber for comment. Amber did not want to comment. Neither did Steve. Oh wait, no, I read that wrong. Steve absolutely did want to comment. He gave quotes to the newspaper, and it is glorious. This is verbatim. I'm not making this up. He said, I knew it was kind of a no-no, but there's not a rule saying it can't happen. There's not a law saying I'm going to jail for doing something like this. There's nothing in stone. I guess it's just an ethics code. Like, we frown upon it, but there's no rule. There's no laws broken. Are you trying to use the Air Bud rule to get out of this? There's nothing that says a dog can't play basketball. It's like, dude, you're trying to lawyer your way out of this. I don't know why talking into this paper. I don't know why you thought this was going to help your case.
I love the Air Bud defense. That was
the Air Bud defense. The best part was he kept talking. He kept trying to justify his actions. I've never been so okay. I'm just gonna read the quote. He said, I was the stay-at-home dad for 5 years with the kids with Amber while she got to go off and coach the team. And when she'd get back, I'd run practices on top and take care of the kids while she was back. When they travel again, I would sit back and take care of the kids. Then when I got hired on, she almost forced me to run practices. I was a volunteer the entire time before that, trying to help out Amber. Once I got hired on, one thing stemmed from another. I felt like I was doing too much for what I was being valued at. Okay, look, Steve, we've all worked jobs, and maybe we feel like we're not being properly compensated for it. Maybe we feel like we're not being appreciated for what we're worth. The rest of us don't bang our student athletes.
That was very direct.
I've never
very direct, Nick.
It's just I'm just still in shock. Like, I've never been so simultaneously disgusted and oddly impressed. Like, it's truly a spectacle. So Steve, I don't know what else to say, but all right. That's all right. I'm done. That's my 180.
The fact that he just like he not only doubled down, he tripled down and quadrupled down and like just kept going.
I'm digging that grave for himself.
I do have to mention, hang on, there was maybe one more. Was there one more quote? Oh, no, there wasn't. I do have to mention that the Lufkin Daily News by Nathan Hogg. I don't know if you're pronouncing your name right, but he was probably fist pumping as he wrote this title. The title is "Spare Relationship Causes Awkward Split." Hall of Fame newspaper article title. Hall of Fame.
Can you just so the lovely listeners out there, if they want to have an opportunity to read this, please put the link in our outline for this week.
I will. I just dropped it in there.
Anyway, thank you all for watching and listening. Again, I'm Jordan DuPont, joined by Nick DiCola and Andrew Freeman. Tag Mullen will be back soon. You can find us on Twitter at 4starpodchi. Our website is also 4starpodchi.com. Check us out there if you want to take a look at the blog post we have up, and we'll have all of our episodes linked there as well. Nick is at Endicola21. Andrew is at AJ Freeman 25. You can check out his other work on the Bear Report at 247sports.com and the Picks for Polls podcast. And even though he's not here, I'll still shout out Ty, because in our hearts,
we love him.
At TM Mullen 007, if you want to harass him for not being on here and moving, feel free. Anyway, thanks again. We will be back next week, ranting and raving. Have a good one. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. Don't lose any fingers.